This is so exciting. We need a drum roll. Welcome to a brand new podcast. Kalki presents My Indian Life, brought to you by the BBC World Service. I am Kalki Koechlin. I'm an actor. You might have seen me in a Bollywood film or on stage, but today I'm also a podcast presenter. This is the video version. Another way is by streaming or downloading the audio version, but more about that later. Right now, we're about to begin. We're about to start episode 1 of My Indian Life.
1, 2, 1, 2. Now when you're comfortable with the speed, increase the speed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And when you're completely comfortable with
Dance is his first love. It is his life.
For me, worshipping is my dance. If I'm dancing, I feel connected to God. I feel like my blood cells dance with me. I feel my existence on this planet.
As a child, Eshan danced to Bollywood hit songs, but not everyone found it entertaining.
The day my father got to know about it, it was a doomsday in my house. He beaten me so bad that I had fracture.
From the BBC World Service, this is My Indian Life, the brand new podcast about what it means to be young and Indian in the 21st century. I'm Kalki Koechlin. I'm a Bollywood actor. This is episode 1, Dancing to His Own Beat. First of all, a huge welcome. And if you're listening to a podcast for the very first time, then an even bigger welcome. So what is My Indian Life all about? Well, it's compelling personal stories about being young and Indian. Sometimes amazing, extraordinary stories, sometimes pretty raw. Sometimes we'll hear about things which are pretty tough to listen to. In other episodes, they will be really uplifting stories. Put simply, if you are young and Indian, then this is your podcast. Stories about young Indians for young Indians. And even if you're not, if you want to hear some really incredible stories, this is still your podcast. And that means that I want to hear from you. So please tell me your stories and your views of the stories that I'm telling you each week. I'll let you know how to contact me at the end of this episode. We'll be releasing a new episode once a week, every Saturday. I should quickly say a little bit about me. I'm young, I think, and Indian too. Well, youngish, I'm 24. I wish I'm youngish. I'm 34. Okay, that's still young in some places. Maybe not in my industry as a woman, but I feel like a kid still. I'm an actor in Bollywood. I grew up in Pondicherry in South India. It's been a really mixed life. I grew up speaking French, Tamil, English, and now Hindi. Just a quick word before we go on about my name, because there are lots of ways to pronounce it. It is spelled a little funny, but there is only one correct way. It's Kalki Koechlin. So that's Aaj ki nahi Kalki. And Koechlin, chocolate Koechlin mere liye. Kalki Koechlin. All right, the story we're telling in this first podcast is about conflict and ambition. It's about a young man's dream coming up against what some in our society expect. It's about a man in his 20s trying to be true to himself, but by doing that, he is threatening to tear his family apart. At its base, it's a father against son story. But it goes even deeper than that. It's about individuality versus our cultural norms.
If you're doing layer 1 with your hip, you're using drop technique and you're doing layer 1 like drop, 1, 2, 1, 2.
25-year-old Eshan Hilal is a Delhi-based professional male belly dancer. It's a rarity in our culture where gender roles are sharply defined and someone like him is easily misunderstood. But he continues to fight, smashing gender stereotypes one move at a time. We'll be taking him to see his mom. His mother says dance is wrong. He is educated, but all he does is lifts up his shirt and moves his belly. And we would have liked to have taken him to see his dad. His father says what's wrong is wrong. He says they've never said with pride that Eshan is their son. When he's dancing, Eshan is poetry in motion. His moves are graceful and effortless. At his performances, he often wears a long, flowy skirt, a sequined net blouse that ends just under his ribcage, and a jangly coin belt. His fashionably cut hair is swept back. His metal bangles and the nosepin make him stand out. For as long as he can remember, Eshan has loved dancing. As a 5-year-old, he would dance to a song from Shah Rukh Khan's hit film Koila. Everyone found it entertaining. But as he grew older, family elders shook their heads in disapproval.
They had issue with it. They was like, listen, stop doing this feminine thing. You cannot dance. All we want from you is just be a little rugged. Be a man. I've been a very effeminate boy since childhood. I had a certain sort of grace in me. When all the boys used to go for cricket out there in the playground to play, I used to sit in the house and I used to do some embroidery things. I used to play with Barbie dolls, and I used to sit with my sister. I used to teach her how to make clothes for Barbie dolls out of paper, and so I used to gel up very easily with my sister, but not with my brother. My brother always used to push me. Listen, just go and let's play cricket. Let's go out there with friends on bike. Let's do this. And I used to be like, listen, let me just be at home. Let's play indoor games and then create something.
In time, this gentle chiding turned into abuses and name-calling. Eshan is Muslim, and most in his family are Orthodox Muslims who believe that dance is against their religion. Eshan still vividly remembers the first time he was called a randi. For those who don't know, it's a pretty rude Hindi word for prostitute.
I think I was 7 or 8 years old. In summer vacation, we were supposed to go to our hometown, and all the cousins, we all were playing Antakshri. In that zest, I started dancing. I started dancing on that Pappy number at that point of time, and then my grandmother came, and then she was like, have you ever seen a randi dancing in Abba? That word, that slang, she literally used that slang.
And you didn't know what it meant.
I was scared. I was a lot scared. What was that word she used just for me? I knew that's something really bad and harsh, but I had no idea what exactly that means. I was scared that I did something really wrong in front of them that I'm not supposed to. And then she told to my father, and my father was like, he was very upset. He was like, "Tumne meri naak kata di mere ghar walon ke samne, and you're not supposed to dance." And everyone was there that if you're dancing, you're a woman, and that too not a good woman. So that kind of a culture, a background I comes from, and it was very hard. They used to lock me down in rooms whenever the guests used to come in my house. Why? Because I was effeminate. They used to always compare me and my brother all the time. That why can't you be just like him? He's so masculine. He's so rugged. He's so rough and tough. And it was like, look at him. He knows how to drive. I was like, Mama, but he don't know how to dance. In my childhood, I've always felt that I'm abnormal. There's something wrong with me. There's something which is not usual and common. Like I'm a defective piece by the God. Like there's something wrong in me. I'm not stable somewhere.
Yet you didn't try to become masculine. You continued to dance. You continued to. Oh, you did.
Yes, I did.
Like what? What were you?
A funny thing is that I tried playing cricket, and I failed miserably, like horribly. I failed in that field, and then I tried making girlfriends because it was a status of being a manhood.
The pull of dance was so great that one day he asked his mother if he could take lessons in Kathak. She had no idea what he was talking about, so he explained to her that it was a form of Indian classical dance, that you tied a string with gungroos or metal bells around your ankles, and that it was performed by both men and women, and that many of the male dancers were Muslims like him.
She slapped me so hard. She's like, don't try acting over smart in front of me and don't do such things. If your dad will get to know about this, he'll create a havoc at home, and don't just do this.
And of course, he did get to know about it.
It was a doomsday in my house. He threw my ghungroos on the road, and then he beaten me so bad that I had fracture, and then he was so harsh. He was like, why you want to be a tawayaf, and then why you behaving like one, and this is something which is very derogatory, you're not supposed to do this, naak kata rahe ho meri, and all that.
Naak kata rahe ho meri. Now that's a phrase Eshan has heard a million times in his life. I mean, literally it means you've cut off my nose, but it translates as you've brought me shame. Other phrases that have been constantly flung in his face are tawayaf, which means a prostitute, and bhaan and hijra, words that are often used in a derogatory manner to describe transgender people and men of fluid gender or those who are effeminate. Eshan says the name-calling, the bickering and the humiliation often got to him, and one time when he was 14, he took action.
I ran away. I was 8th standard when I ran away. Why? Because I got fractured. My father was so, like, he was like, I'm going to beat you red and blue if you dance. And then I came back after 6 or 7 months. And why? Because I loved
Where did you go?
Nainital. There were some dance auditions were happening in Nainital. And I ended up working as a cleaner in a resort there.
Wow.
Because I don't wanted to go back to home because of my father and because of all that.
How did they react when you came back after so many months?
पापा ने मुझे फिर बहुत मारा.
अरे बाप रे. He says his father beat him again.
He was like that, this time I'm gonna beat you so bad that you won't be able to even run now. You won't be able to walk now at all, that I'm gonna beat you so bad this time. How can you just do this to me? And you have that much guts to behave like this. And he was very harsh, he was very bad, to me. And he stopped taking me to family gatherings. He stopped taking me to, outside with him whenever we used to go out for shopping and meetings. And he was so embarrassed of me that I'm the elder one and I'm not so much like him.
But in spite of all this, Eshan has pursued his dream. Belly dancing has come to define him. He participated in a reality TV dance show, and the exposure brought him recognition and fame.
There are people who said such really mean things to me before I went on TV. And right after TV, they've changed. They just want to take selfies. They want to invite me on dinner. And then they want to tie Rakhi. And then they've changed completely, their attitude towards me. And before that, they were like, such a gay, such a sissy, pansy, shame to his family.
He's also often invited to perform at corporate and other private events, like this second anniversary party of a company that manufactures drones for the government.
This person is called Eshan Hilal, who is one of the first male belly dancers, I think the first and one of the finest male belly dancers in India. Halfway down his performance, he's going to come to y'all. Don't look scared. Some of y'all are like, oh my god, what is she going to finish? So let's play along. It's going to be fantastic. He's done a couple of shows like that and they've been brilliant. So without much further ado, let's raise a toast and have a big round of applause for Eshan Hilal.
His performance is a hit, and later staff members queue up to take selfies with him. His parents, though, are yet to appreciate what he does. Narrow bylanes lead the way to their small 2-story home in Delhi. There's a tangle of electrical wires outside. The family lives on the first floor, while Eshan lives in a terrace room on the second floor. His mum, she's in her early 40s and a devout Muslim who dresses conservatively, her hair covered with a plain white cotton scarf at all times. She was married at the age of 14. She has little formal education. She also says she finds it difficult to understand modern concepts of gender roles. And she is torn. Eshan is her firstborn, the eldest son she loves dearly, but she believes that Islam doesn't approve of his way of life. She talks about her disappointment at Eshan's desire to dance. He talks about how his parents failed to understand him. The mother and son remember the many occasions they did not speak to each other, once for as long as a whole year. In recent months, they've been speaking a bit about some of these issues, but they really opened up when we met them and talked about things that are not always easy to discuss. They are speaking in Hindustani, a colloquial mix of Hindi and Urdu, as his mum doesn't speak English. But I'll talk you through it and explain what's happening.
अच्छा, आपका पहला रिएक्ट, आपने मन में क्या सोचा? मैंने आपको फर्स्ट टाइम आके बताया था कि मम्मी मुझे बेली डांस करना है और बेली डांस ये होता है. आपको पता भी नहीं था बेली डांस क्या होता है, मैंने आपको बताया था.
Eshan is asking her, when I told you for the first time that I wanted to do belly dance, you didn't know what it was, so I told you, I showed you how it was done. What did you think at the time?
तो आपने उस टाइम पे लिटरली मन में क्या सोचा था कि अब क्या?
बस मैं बहुत परेशान हो गई थी और यही इतनी टेंशन में आ गई थी कि पता नहीं इस लड़के का क्या होगा, क्या बन के रहेगा, ये क्या चाहता है. अब मैं सच बोलूं तो
His mother says she was very upset and tense. She used to keep wondering what would happen to her son. She says because of him they'd always have fights at home. He brought them so much shame. She says some people would say it on their face, others would say it behind their backs, that one of their sons was like this. His father didn't like him and that sometimes he would take out his anger on her. She says that as his mother, she couldn't say it to his face, but she truly wished that he would go far away and live somewhere else so they wouldn't have to hear anything about him. She says that they would have had a chance to live peacefully. She says that despite getting a good education, he came back and became a dancer. She can't understand how he turned out like this. This has broken her from inside. She asks Eshan if he remembers the time they didn't speak to each other for a very long time.
है ना, बात नहीं करती थी ना बिल्कुल आपसे.
Eshan gets emotional while he tells her that, yeah, they didn't talk to each other for an entire year.
कि ये तो मुझे बचपन से ही दिखता था. इसके अंदर वो वाली क्वालिटी थी ही नहीं जैसे लड़कों में होती है. बचपन में जब ये बेबी था तो मैं इनके लिए माँ थी और फर्स्ट बेबी. पहले बच्चे के लिए माँ के दिल में कितने अरमान होते हैं.
She says from a young age Eshan was like this. He wasn't masculine. For any mother, the firstborn is always special. So she got him a ball and other boys' toys. But he wasn't interested. He was interested in clothing, cutting up clothes, playing with dolls. She says she wanted him to become a doctor from the time she picked him up in the hospital as a baby. She remembers having lots of fights about what she wanted him to be and what he wanted to be.
झगड़ा मम्मी आप मुझे मारती थी. झगड़ा अब रहता है. पहले सिर्फ मार पिटाई रहती थी, मैं पिटता था.
Eshan interjects here to say that these were not fights. He used to beat me up all the time. She says, yes, I used to beat him a lot, but I used to feel so frustrated with him.
तो मैं इनके साथ बैठ के हमेशा ये बात करता हूँ कि मम्मी आप दूसरों की बातों में क्यों आते हो. जब तक हम अपने को खुद एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे, बाहर वाले कभी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे.
Eshan says he always tells his mother that no one will accept him unless they do. I've been made by Allah this way, he says. And Allah hasn't criticized me, so why are you criticizing me? He says people ask him what his childhood was like. It wasn't good at all, he says. It was completely screwed up because he had a lot of hatred and he never understood why. As an afterthought, he adds that maybe it was because there are well-defined gender roles in our society. If you're a man, you can't be elegant, you have to be macho. You can only be an engineer or a doctor, and if you're a girl, you have to stay at home.
तो मम्मी अभी आपको अभी जैसे अब तो मतलब पूरा सबके सामने खुला है कि मैं बेली डांसर हूँ और ये मेरा प्रोफेशन है. तो अब आपके दिमाग में क्या है कि अब आप मुझे एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हो मुझे.
So Eshan just asked her, so mummy, now that it's out in the open that I'm a belly dancer and this is my profession, how do you feel about it? Can you accept me like this?
आप क्या सोचते हो अभी?
बिल्कुल बच्चा है, मेरा बेटा है. दुनिया तो कमा रहा है, ये दुनिया में नाम हो चुका है. ये तो मुझे भी दिख रहा है, इतनी समझ तो है, टीवी देख रही हूँ तो इनकी खुशी के लिए मैं बोलती हूँ हाँ अच्छा लग रहा है. लेकिन अभी भी मैं चाहती हूँ.
His mom says that he is her child, her son. He's made his name in the world. She's seen it on TV and she understands that. So for his happiness, she says it's good. She says she would still like to reason with him, but she realizes he won't understand the religious teachings. He's gone too far ahead in life. She says she has faith in her prayers and she has left him to Allah. I don't force him any longer. I don't say anything to him, she says. But she's praying to Allah that he gives it up. Prayers are powerful. Despite the ups and downs in their relationship, it's obvious Eshan shares a very deep bond with her. And she's the reason he continues to live at home.
I'm in my home just because of my mom. She's a very typical Indian Muslim woman who still thinks that husband is the everything. Society will not accept me if I'll go outside this house. She still has that thought process. She's my love. I think whatever I am just because of her. And I think it's my duty to be with her. And I'm not her son, I'm her friend.
Eshan's feelings towards his father are in sharp contrast to his feelings towards his mother. When the time comes to meet his father, he refuses to accompany us. The father and son have not spoken to each other for the past year. I said right at the start that this is a podcast that isn't going to be shying away from difficult subjects. Eshan does not mince his words when talking about his father. He says he does not respect him or love him, and that he's a father just in name. He also shares a disturbing anecdote with us.
ये बात मैं अभी शेयर कर रहा हूँ. मैंने आज तक कभी घर वालों से शेयर नहीं की ये बात.
So Eshan is sharing this for the first time, he says.
कि मतलब मुझे इतना डर लगता था मम्मी पापा से, स्पेशली पापा से.
He was scared of his father. Eshan says he used to lock his door at night. He felt that his father might kill him in the name of honor killing.
Because I love my life. I want to live. I want to explore this life, you know. And अभी ये बोलते हुए मुझे goosebumps आ रहे हैं.
He was getting goosebumps telling me this. And I can tell you that I was also getting goosebumps just listening to him.
I was very scared at night, and I've seen a Pakistani movie I've seen where they had a child who was effeminate and the father used to strangle that boy out of shame. So I had those things in my head that, and my father is going to kill me just for the sake of his reputation and name in the society. And then every morning is to wake up.
How old were you at this point?
It's very recent. It's very recent. It's like
This is
2
after
years
you-
back, 2 years back.
His father? He's a big man with a graying beard. He's polite and offers us sweets and readily agrees to answer all our questions. He has no hesitation calling his son names or admitting that he used to beat him up. He doesn't speak English either, so I'll explain what he says.
बहुत मारा है घर भी छोड़ के भाग गए थे एक बार
He's saying he used to beat Eshan a lot and that once his son even ran away from home. His son has no respect for him and is self-centered, he says. I know some people appreciate what he does, but I don't like what I don't like. He says that his son is not more important than the respect of members of his community. God has given us brains to differentiate between right and wrong, he says. And what's wrong is wrong. It's you who has to change, he insists. You can never change everyone's perspective. He's also dismissive of his son's fears that he might attack him at night.
रात को क्यों अटैक करेंगे जब हमें मारना तो हम तो सबके सामने मारे थे
He says, why would I attack him at night? When I beat him up, I did it openly. He says Eshan is not his enemy, and as his father, he has to both hit him and talk to him to get him on the right path. Then he says he would never compromise with him, that his son is not more important than respect, and that they will not be able to stay together unless he mends his ways. At present, though, they do stay together, and it is an uneasy calm that prevails in the Hilal home. I'm not surprised with such a setting where parents and kids are staying in the same roof and, can't stand each other, because I see that all the time. And, it's almost like a cultural context that we can understand. But what I find interesting is I have a lot of friends who live a double life. They live under their parents' roof, and in front of their parents, they're, these wonderful people who make them happy, and then they live this other completely separate life where they drink and smoke, and these are people, adults above their 30s who still hide the fact that they smoke, for example, in front of their parents. And what I find really interesting and wonderful is to see Eshan confronting his parents even at this early age, and sort of trying to deal with the juxtaposition and trying to find a place of peace even within this very difficult setting. In a more philosophical moment during his meeting with his mom, Eshan says perhaps his parents are not to blame.
तो जब मैं ये सब सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स को समझता हूँ ओवरऑल, तो समझता हूँ कि यार मेरी मॉम डैड गलत नहीं थे, उनकी अपब्रिंगिंग वैसी हुई है.
Eshan says it's not his parents' fault, it's their upbringing. I used to criticize my parents that they have ruined my life, but now I think that if it hadn't been the case, and if mommy and papa hadn't beaten me up and given me such a hard time, I wouldn't have the same kind of passion that I have. If I'd gotten everything on a platter, I wouldn't have valued it so much. Eshan says that while growing up, he never heard what did he want, what did his heart want. He was always told that he must fit in. And fit in he can't. Even in his appearance, it can be quite confusing for some. On the one hand, he keeps facial hair. On the other, he sports a bindi and wears jewelry. He doesn't want to talk about his sexuality. And why should he?
I respect this whole alternate sexualities and everything, but I feel like that why should I talk about my sexuality so openly about it? Because it's very personal. If I'm going to talk about my sexuality, people are going to tag my art form with that sexuality. Oh, he's this, that's why he's doing this. And I don't want that. I don't want anyone to demean my art form. And sexuality is something, it's very as normal as having a meal thrice in a day. Why should we even talk about it? We should talk about...
Lucky you. Thrice in a day. Wow.
Really? You don't eat like that often or what? Okay.
It depends on the relationship, I guess. It depends on the quality of the food also.
Okay.
Eshan says he's now come to terms with who he is and how he is. He's at a point in life where he's happy and satisfied. That he's no longer pretending to be someone else, and he's learned to live with his contradictions. I'm a boy, he says, but I can wear a skirt and rock it. Indeed, he can. I really hope you've enjoyed listening to this first episode of My Indian Life. I've certainly enjoyed presenting it. If you are listening to us on a podcast app, then if there's a subscribe button, do press it. Don't panic, it won't cost you anything. It just means that you'll get every episode automatically. And let us know what you think. Tell us your stories. We may want to talk to you if you have similar experiences or stories. You can find us at BBC World Service on Twitter and Facebook, or use the hashtag MyIndianLife to leave your comments and suggestions. Our email address is myindianlife@bbc.com. As a podcast, we rely on recommendations. Unless you tell your friends about us, no one will know about us. So please help spread the word. Tell your friends, your family, your enemies, your boss, everyone about My Indian Life, and tell them how to find us and how to listen. In the next episode of My Indian Life from the BBC World Service, the woman who uses her body to fight gender inequality and the culture of blaming and shaming victims. Thanks for listening.